Council of the Town of Morristown. Today is Tuesday, May 28, 2024. Margot, please take it away.
I'm Margaret G. Kay, the Town Clerk of the Town of Morristown. I hereby state that it is 7:35 p.m. on Tuesday, May 28, 2024, and that this regular meeting is being held in Council Chambers 200 South Street, Morristown, New Jersey. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided according to law by written notice to the Morristown Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Town of Morristown, and to the North Star Ledger, both more than 48 hours ago. Notice was also posted on a bulletin board at Town Hall and filed with the office of the Town Clerk of the Town of Morristown. I can further state that I shall enter into the minutes of this meeting a statement that such notice was furnished as particularly described by me in this public announcement. Let's take a roll call. Councilman Foster's excused this evening. Councilman Iannicone.
Here.
Councilwoman Lindsay. Here. Councilman Flipchuk.
Here.
Councilman Russo.
Here.
Councilman Silva.
Present.
Council President Umbriac.
Here.
Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's please pause for a moment of silence. And please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we get started, just a couple of announcements having to do with the agenda. First of all, ordinance O-18-2024, as well as the discussion related to the cannabis dispensary, have both been tabled to the June 11th meeting. The second announcement is just a typo on consent agenda item number 2. It should read approval of minutes April 16, 2024, not April 26. And with that, unless members of council would like to pull one or more of the 7 items on the consent agenda, I would ask for a motion to adopt.
I'll make a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
Councilman Iannicone?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay? Yes. Councilman Flipchuk?
Yes.
Councilman Russo?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Council President Umbriac?
Yes.
Motion carries. At this time, I will open the floor for a public hearing on any matter. When called upon, please approach the microphone, state your name and address, and limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. Be advised that any derogatory comments targeting members of council and or administration may be ruled out of order.
Mr. Burns, come on up.
Good evening. My name is Bill Byrne, and I'm here to talk about McGuire, which is a recreation program. It's run by the Arc of Mars, and this is vitally important because a lot of the towns also, like Morris Plains and others, that support this recreation program. It's vitally important because the Arc of Mars, they run McGarp, and McGarp's vitally important because, first of all, I'm a past member of McGarp, and what it does, it helps people with intellectual disabilities. Now, I'm kind of blessed here because I don't have any problems making friends. And so some of these people, you know, because they're in group homes and stuff, some have hard times making friends with people in the community. And so, and also, you know, they're a part of this community, you know, and also, you know, like one time when I had to talk with the mayor about Morristown, and the mayor said, we welcome everyone. So McGarp is vitally important because, first of all, they do bowling. They have like bowling, which is on Thursday nights. They also get together. They might go out to dinner or have like a dinner club. Also, too, they might go to a movie. Or, you know, say if Morristown has something, they have a jazz festival, hey, you never know. They might be coming to that. And plus, they do Special Olympics, which is like, would be very cool. And I used to be a member of McGark, but because I don't have trouble making friends, but, you know, a lot of these people, you know, sometimes, you know, they come from the group homes and stuff like that, support a living and stuff. And so I just ask you to please keep this in the budget. Don't cut it, because it's towns like this that really support the special needs community. So, you know, just think, if any of you people in the audience had somebody with an intellectual disability and say you were looking for an agency to become a part of, and so your grandchildren, grandkids might need that type of services. So I just asked the town, I asked our mayor, our town council, and everybody to please support McGark, because these are the people that I represent. Everybody in this program I represent. And so I just thank you for this, and please don't cut it out of the town budget, because they do a lot of good things, and maybe some of the public should come out and, you know, see the art, see what they're about, see McGark and what they're about. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Someone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Deborah Rice-Lehman from 320 South Street. I'm just following up on the last meeting where I talked about the demolishment of 23 Spring Street.
Sorry, ma'am, could you please repeat your name?
Sorry, Deborah Rice-Lehman. So I see from the agenda that I think the ordinance is going to get passed this evening about this, and that's fine. But I did want to pass on sort of the comments and the feelings from the people who have answered the petition that I put in place. So again, I'm going to read it, if that's okay. So I'm here to convey the disappointment of many residents at the lack of imagination in plans for the M-Lofts development. The ordinance is going to be passed this evening, and Morristown will lose the old electrical building at 23 Spring Street to another characterless and oversized apartment block that will further extend the Great Wall of Morristown, when we could have at least investigated the options for converting the building or preserving its facade. Excuse me. The town planner last time mentioned it was empty for 15 years. I don't think that necessarily precludes it from being restored. Buildings have been sort of left standing empty for longer than that and restored. So I think we've lost an opportunity where forward-thinking cities like Toronto, Paris, New York preserve at least the facades of the older buildings when they're putting these apartments in place. He also mentioned that the building had to be sacrificed in order to meet the parking and affordable housing requirements for the site, which I think that's illogical. He's starting from, we want to build X number of units, therefore we have to have this number of parking places, therefore we have to have this number of affordable housing units. But if you start from the ground up, we have this building, we have this site with these particular constraints, what can we do within that? Then those numbers go down. So I think that was a disingenuous response. Overall, I feel like the truth is the building is being sacrificed to corporate greed, and preservation doesn't appear to be a priority. Our hope is that going forward, whenever there is a proposal to remove existing property of some merit, the council will require developers to take a serious look at its preservation and reuse possibilities. We understand Morristown isn't Paris or Toronto, and that the town has to generate revenue, but we wonder where the point is where we start to kill the golden goose. The goose that lays the golden egg. We are continuing to overload the town with apartments rather than homes. We're adding traffic, we're failing to fill all the additional retail space that we're creating, and we're blocking off a whole community in the space behind that Great Wall of Morristown. We're losing so much of what makes Morristown attractive, which includes a diverse and compassionate population. We are losing the space that community services such as Table of Hope currently uses. So myself and the people who signed this petition love Morristown. We want to preserve the character, the charm and the beauty that the town promotes to its visitors and residents. I'll just finish with a couple of comments that were added to the petition. Morristown is losing virtually all of its original streetscape, the fabric that gives the town its distinctiveness and originality. Also, the greenest building is one that's already built. This developer should absolutely find a way to incorporate this unique building into his overall project. I wish you could preserve the open sky as you approach the intersection. Our town has many historic and original sites, however new construction is happening as well. We need to keep a balance between both. This building is an icon and I hope it can be used for something without taking it down. People actually travel to see examples like this of hand-lettered signage. It's a thing. This could have been a real attraction for the town. So again, Morristown needs to save its history and not turn the town into beige boxes of boredom. We all recognise that change happens and development is inevitable, but we ask this council to be more willing in future to balance the need for revenue with the preservation of its existing footprint and fabric. And finally, we have another suggestion for you. We noticed that the strip of land next to the railway tracks on Bishop Nasri Way seems to be owned by the town, and our suggestion is that we can create a space there for the public. So something that could be shared perhaps by Table of Hope, and my personal hope is that we might get a dog park. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Good evening, Rob Tucker, 34 Jersey Avenue. I want to address one of the items on here, the honorary street naming for William Butchie Barber. Just want to read a quick statement from his wife, Mrs. Barber, or should I say, Dr. Anita Barber, for she has principled and educated youth for decades. So this is from her. Dear Council President Umbriac, Second Ward Councilwoman Lindsay, and members of the Morristown Council. I'll try to read expeditiously, so hang in there if I don't accentuate my commas and periods. My name is Anita Barber. Having lived with my husband, William Barber, Jr., in the town of Morristown, an area he has not only called home for his entire life, but a city that he loves and has devoted his life to. I am writing this letter regarding the location of the approved honorary street sign for William Butchie Barber Way on Martin Luther King Avenue and Flagler Street. I need not provide Mr. Barber's resume, for I am sure you are aware of his tremendous and outstanding contributions to the town of Morristown. In addition to serving as a Morristown councilman for 24 years, he gave unselfishly to young and old alike, serving as a role model to Morristown, Morris County, and the surrounding areas. The William Butchie Barber Way Committee and the community have waited nearly 3 years to give him recognition while he can still appreciate it. The committee requested that the honorary street sign be placed atop the Martin Luther King Avenue and Flagler Street sign. Having listened to the last council meeting on April 24, 2024, regarding the location of the honorary sign, I noted your main focus and area of concern was on flooding in the Martin Luther King area. The placement of the honorary street sign at Martin Luther King Avenue and Flagler Street is not only appropriate, but significant. Appropriate because it is an entrance of the Caldwell Park where Mr. Barber provided a safe haven, guidance, support, education, recreation, and entertainment not only for the residents of the area, but for the entire Morristown community. It is significant because his service, devotion, dedication, and untiring efforts benefited the entire Morristown area and beyond. Mr. Barber's life also parallels the commitment that Dr. Martin Luther King demonstrated. Dr. King wrote the book on being a drum major for peace and advocate for change. Mr. Barber's life and his commitment to the town parallels Dr. King. So it is appropriate to see the names together of these two powerful African-American men that made a difference, one globally and one locally. Placing the honorary sign at the location should be no more of a flood concern than any improvement that has been or will be made in the area. I have researched other projects going on or that have been identified and planned for improving that area. Obviously, flooding is not a major concern if tax dollars are being spent and County of Morris improvement is being provided to improve the overall pedestrian experience in that area. The honorary street sign should not be a flooding issue if all of these other improvements aren't a concern. I, along with the committee, am requesting the council consider and approve the Martin Luther King Avenue and Flagler Street location for the honorary street sign and notify the committee chair, Ms. Betty Ann Bryant, so that the committee can continue with planning the celebration. I thank the council for considering this request and ask when the committee will be notified regarding the approval for the Martin Luther King Avenue and Flagler Street honorary sign location, as well as the location of the plaque recognizing Mr. Barber's contribution to Morristown. Again, thank you for all your attention to this matter.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Ezra Teitelbaum. I'm here with my wife, Romana Teitelbaum, and my neighbor, Judy Bayard. And I want to tell you, we've lived in Morristown for 35 years, and we have an issue, we have a problem that we discussed with the mayor when the mayor came to our home in 2020 regarding Foot Pond Lane. There's a walkway, there's a pathway, and it's a beautiful pathway. People use it all the time, which is wonderful. However, because they built the pathway across the street from our home, we, my wife and I, get the brunt of all the traffic that comes in from the outside when they want to go through the pathway. So they park in front of our house, and they normally do not park in front of anybody else's home. This causes a tremendous amount of aggravation for my wife and I. And though we have no right to tell people to park in a public area, the issue is that these people who come and park in front of our house, sometimes they come in the morning, they slam their doors, they sometimes throw garbage on the floor. Not often, they do that. They create a nuisance for us because we can't sleep. They don't come all the time, but we do have cars that come in front of our property. To remedy this problem, on our block, we told the mayor about this 5 years ago. We mentioned it to him that there is a water house that's no longer in use. It was destroyed, and they created a parking lot, and hasn't been used in 2 or 3 years. It hasn't been used, period. And we'd like to know if it's possible, if people who need to go to Foot Pond Lane, go to the pathway on Overlook Road where we live, if they could park their cars there instead of parking in front of our property. It would help us tremendously. We're not asking for a lot. You have a parking lot that's not being used. We have no idea what the purpose was to destroy the water house, but I'm assuming that the city council must have had a reason for demolishing that building. If you could please help us. Once again, we can't park. We know people can park in front of our home. It's a public street. We're not asking for we're not asking for a no parking sign to be put down. We're asking that traffic be redirected from the Foot Pond Lane to that parking lot. And that's the situation regarding that specific issue. The final issue is just incidental issue is there are people use fire pits in Morristown, and our neighbors, we would recommend, based on the discussion with neighbors, if you could do away with these fire pits because it creates pollution, it's an environmental hazard, and we suffer from it. I have very bad allergies, but the major reason I'm here is because of the issue with Foot Pond Lane, and I also want to give you information about what's going on with these fire pits. If you could possibly have an ordinance to do away with fire pits. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Judy Bayard, B-A-Y-A-R-D. I'm at 37 Overlook Road. I live next door to Ezra Teitelbaum, and I agree with everything that he has to say. They do get the brunt of the parking. Occasionally, someone will park in front of our house, but mostly it's their house because the trail's right there. And Foot Pond's a very nice place, and it's a very popular trail. And it's not nice to have cars just parked in front of your house, unless it's your friends coming to visit. So, and then the other thing is, and also I agree about the fire pits. And I was wondering if are they even allowed in Morristown? So I was wondering if you all could answer that question. And then as far as the leaf blower, I'm very lucky. The Tidal Bombs asked their landscaper not to use the leaf blower anymore, and so they don't do that. Of course, they can start on October 1st with the gas-powered leaf blowers. And I have another friend who also asked their landscaper not to use it, and they're just a one-guy operation, and he said sure, and he went out and bought a battery-powered leaf blower. So there's some progress, but I still hear a lot of leaf blowers, and I was just wondering how the outreach was going. I know, I reached out to you, and I remember you had you were going to put together a flyer. I don't know if you did that or not. And again, if any of you guys need help, need a volunteer to help out with any of this, I'd be happy to do it. I'm very passionate about having a nice, quiet neighborhood and hearing the birds. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Steven Zaklukevich. I live at 20 Convict Place in Morristown, New Jersey. And I just wanted to say a few comments and maybe ask a few questions about the Spring Street redevelopment proposal that's on the agenda for this evening. A couple of weeks ago, Mr. Abramson and a colleague appeared before the council and discussed two properties. One is the electrical supply building, and then there's the other building on the west side of the roundabout.
I'm sorry, sir. Can you speak into the microphone?
Sure, I'm sorry. On the west side of the roundabout is the other property. And it was stated that old rooming house, old apartment building on the west side of the roundabout is going to be preserved and renovated. However, there was a statement that listed there were several contingencies if they weren't met, that the developer has the option in the plan to demolish that building. I would just ask that you request of Mr. Abramson and his group exactly what those contingencies are, specifically what needs to happen for that building to be torn down. It sounds like they have a very interesting plan in place that they're going to propose to renovate and to try to work with the residents to keep folks who are living there in their homes after the renovation is complete. But the issue regarding the potential for its demolition, I think, was glossed over, and I think you should hold their feet to the fire on exactly what that means, what would entail to have that building qualified for demolition. Secondly, regarding the electrical supply building, a few folks at the last meeting had spoken up in favor of repurposing that building, and there were some questions asked of Mr. Abramson, and there was an issue related to the excavation of a parking garage for that particular building. Stated that there didn't seem to be any structural defects with the property, but that they had looked at the possibility of repurposing that property and decided against it. I think it's incumbent upon you to ask detailed questions as to what makes it a non-starter to have that building have its preservation, to have that building preserved, as well as how much it will cost to have a garage built under that building. to merely state that it's very expensive. We're taking care of the property across the street, so we're not gonna spend too much time on any discussion and repurposing the electrical supply building. I think that's relatively disingenuous. I mean, there are several items that would argue in favor of preserving that building. It's a unique opportunity for you. You should ask the questions as to why is it cost prohibitive to have that, parking level take that possibility off the table. So I ask that you do whatever you possibly can to have that building preserved, and ask the developer to not necessarily maximize its benefit, but to gain a reasonable benefit from that property by maintaining and keeping the structure in a repurposed manner. Lastly, during Mr. Abramson's presentation with a colleague, there was discussion regarding a group called Topology. I was wondering if is now the proper time to ask questions as to what is Topology? Is it an arm of the council? Is it a private company? And what relation does it have to advising this board as to any decisions that should be made regarding the redevelopment of these two properties? Anyways, thank you very much for your time, and I just ask you that you hold the developer's feet to the fire on these two buildings and make it for a better Morristown. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in chambers?
I'm going to make an announcement in Spanish because I think there are some Spanish-speaking people that want to speak, and if they need translation, I can offer myself to translate. ¿Alguno de ustedes va a hablar? De los que vinieron que hablan español, este es el momento de hablar.
Buenas tardes.
Good evening.
Sí.
She's going to translate for you? Okay, excellent.
Oh,
So, tiene que decir primero su nombre y su dirección.
okay. My name is Erwin Jimenez. Vengo de la 12 Spring de Morristown.
I'm Nancy Ventura. I live at 16 Spring Street, apartment 2, where the Scotto property is at, 10 through 16 Spring Street.
El día de hoy pues venimos ante ustedes que los han notificado que tenemos que desalojar donde nosotros vivimos para el 30 de junio.
Okay, he said that the tenants were told that they have to leave by the 30th of June. I'm actually the only one who's been there the longest for 29 years, and to this day I haven't heard any news from Scotto property that they're moving people out.
De lo cual pues dijeron que iban a demoler, pero nosotros hemos andado buscando, de lo cual no encontramos.
They actually said that they were going to demolish the place, but then they were told that it's historic, so they're not going to be demolishing it. But this is from other people that he saw today that spoke about it.
De lo cual pues nosotros queremos continuar viviendo ahí mismo porque nosotros a nuestros hijos queremos brindarle, ya conocemos el lugar, ¿verdad?, donde nosotros vivimos, pero para darle mayor frecuencia a esto, ella tiene 29 años y les va a explicar cómo es el comportamiento de todos nosotros en los apartamentos.
Yeah, I've lived there for 29 years, and the neighbors, we all want to live there quietly with our family, our children, as we're trying to just stay there as they renovate. But they're, like I said, they said, from what they say, it's supposed to be demolished, but, they were told today that by someone here, that they're not supposed to be demolishing it because it's a historic place.
He also said that they want to live peacefully there with their children, and because they have lived there for a long time, they want to continue living here in Morristown.
Yeah, I want to continue living in Morristown. I have a disabled child, and I'm a single parent, and I haven't heard anything. I'm in the dark about this whole thing myself, and I would love to stay in Morristown. I've been here since 17 or so, and I've been there for 29 years. As I say again, 29 years. It's a great place with the old, like Beanies, it's right next to Beanies and Dunkin' Donuts, and across the street there's a big development where they're doing right now with the buildings. I think they went a little crazy, let's just say that, and developing on Speedway Avenue and on Morris Street and Spring Street.
También sobre, a ver si los puede brindar sobre los estacionamientos para los vehículos que no tenemos exactamente ahorita.
Yeah, we never had parking in that location at all. That's the only, when they had houses there, they had parking for the people around there, but not for the 10 to 16 Spring Street. And we would like to have parking somewhere.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
¿Alguien más va a hablar?
Okay, close the public hearing. Responses from council.
The Spring Street development is on tonight on the agenda as a public hearing, for a public hearing. So we heard the presentation from Phil and Topology. Topology is our town planner, by the way, at the last meeting. Interesting, and I'm wondering if we're not approaching this right more generically. And let me explain what I'm thinking. And I'm thinking out loud here, so be patient. So tonight's the public hearing, but yet we're not presenting, and we're not offering the planner to respond to questions from the public. And so, see what I'm saying? I'm wondering if we're not doing this a little bit backward, and I don't know, let me finish my thoughts, okay? If we're not doing this a little bit backwards. The reality is we were very conscious of the building on I call it the south side of Spring Street, the historical significance of what I call like a tenement type structure, because I go back to the era when we had quite a few of those facilities in town, and it was workers, it was part of our community. And we did want to preserve that housing, but we also wanted to preserve that piece of property for purposes of historical significance, true historical significance. It has a lot of history going back with our town. The second part of that is that the majority of the rest of that property is steep slope. It backs to a cemetery and back of the Presbyterian church, which also has a tremendous amount of historical significance also. So we were very conscious of preserving that side of Spring Street for historical purposes and for the purpose of preserving that housing. Pastor Silva was very well going on that issue at the last meeting. So I will say that was very, very conscious to us. We were very conscious of that. I'd be interested to know, Deborah, how many people signed your petition, because that was a fact that you did not bring up. And if this was a hearing, we would have that kind of exchange in a hearing. Following me? We would basically be able to ask them questions as they made comments during the public portion. The way we have the public comment period structured here is going back, but it's nice to have that dialogue when you're having a hearing hearing. So I'm wondering if we can approach this right now. Go ahead. Sure.
We absolutely did this the
No, I know
correct
we
way
did,
from a
but
legal
I'm
perspective.
wondering
The introduction is the opportunity for the administration through the planner to present the project, to present the plan for council consideration. Tonight is really the opportunity for the public, not for council, for the public to speak so that council can listen and hear what they have to say on the project and ultimately make a decision. So my recommendation would be that the presentation should always be done, the introduction. I think it's evidenced by the fact that most of the people who spoke tonight had seen the presentation and were responding to it. And I think that's important for council to consider that, and then ultimately hear from the public and make a decision. So I think that the process, if I were to recommend anything, is to keep the process that we had. I think that allows for the public comment to be one that is responsive to the presentation.
But does it facilitate dialogue?
Well, a public hearing should never facilitate dialogue. Public hearing is an opportunity just for that, for the public to speak to you, for you to hear the public. Then this body can debate that with each other. But frankly, in any public hearing, it's customary and should not be a back and forth between council.
But it is interesting also that when it was introduced, we don't open it up for public comment after the introduction.
That's correct. This is the night. So you basically,
we don't have
it's
any-
presented.
So the dialogue may be lacking at the introductory period.
Well, I think if there's a dialogue, the dialogue is you hear from the planner presents the plan. Tonight's the opportunity for the public to respond to what the planner has to say, and ultimately for you to debate that amongst yourselves and make a decision. So I think it is a dialogue, it's just a dialogue over 2 weeks.
I have a question. Can Mr. Abramson answer some of the questions that Steve asked? Because there were questions that only he can answer
Yes.
with accuracy.
I would recommend this. I would recommend that the planner should respond to the members of the public. He can respond to you at any time. So if council has questions that they want to answer prior to the vote, then that would be the appropriate. Those are questions that could be made to the business administrator, who then may rely on the planner. So that's the process I would recommend.
Thank you. Any other comments? Joe?
So we want to continue on this. I just want to reply to the people that live at the place, lot number 6, and I will speak in English, and then I will translate for them in Spanish. I would like to see the letter that you received, because it might not be an accurate information that the building is going to be demolished. So I want to read it. Quiero leer la carta que les enviaron a ustedes, porque quizás la información que le dieron o lo que ustedes entienden no es correcto, de que el edificio va a ser demolido, porque en realidad no va a ser demolido. Now, if there is another issue in the building, you should talk to your landlord, and he should relocate you while he fixes or remedies whatever issue is going on. Because the town is committed to advocate for you in this process. Si ustedes necesitan hablar con su landlord, que si hay algún problema por el cual están diciendo que deben salir de ahí, ustedes tienen el derecho de no irse de ahí, sino que el dueño, si es que hay un problema de algún tipo de situación que es tóxica para la salud, el dueño tiene que ponerlos a ustedes en un lugar y luego cuando remedie eso, volver a ponerlos ahí. La municipalidad, el town, están comprometidos a defenderlos a ustedes para que ustedes se puedan quedar ahí. So I'm just giving them the information that we have to give.
So is the next step then to actually ask Chris is here this evening, Chris from Pathology. Chris can come when we have this open for the public during the ordinance section. We can ask Chris the question.
I'm going to address it.
We can do that.
I would recommend though that in the public hearing session, let the public speak, and then close the public hearing, and then if
Gotcha.
council has questions, they can direct them to the business administrator who may
So
rely
Chris
on
is
the
going to be
planner.
available when we introduce the ordinance to answer any questions.
When we go for adoption. Yeah, not adoption.
Backwards.
Yeah, you're talking about that.
Any other responses to public comment? Yes, please.
didn't, Mr. Tucker read that letter
Yes.
fast. Is it stating that Ms. Barber don't want to sign with?
So what I gained from that, from his presentation, or from what Ms. Barber, Dr. Barber, noted, was that she was still petitioning for council to relocate the honorary street naming sign to the intersection of Flagler Street and Martin Luther King Avenue. If you recall, a few weeks ago, a few meetings ago, we discussed it, and the discussion, we ended up noting that the best location due to flooding issues at that proposed location would be by Caldwell Park at the intersection of Flagler and Clyde Potts Drive.
Right. Just wanted to make it clear, is the sign gonna be lower or top?
It's gonna be below the street sign. It'll be
What is
above,
below that?
it'll be blue, right? It'll be a blue sign saying Butchie Barber Way above the legal street name, the street sign.
I just wanted to get it clear when you read that thing.
Yeah.
So I didn't get the full detail that she didn't want. I thought it was, best to have it at Caldwell because everybody goes into there and they can see it.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Councilman Russo, anything you wanna add? No? Councilman Wolfchild?
Not to double upon anything else, but I agree about the putting on MLK. Hearing the letter kind of made me think about it differently, and there's some merit to that. Going on to Spring Street stuff, not to go beyond what you've already said, but I agree with you guys, there's some significance to that building, and we really do need to take a close look at it. For the leaf blower issues, Mr. Mayor knows that he's I'm all for the leaf blower ban, and I do go out of my way to notify any landscaper I see. My daughter is in Ligerwood Park for some event, and I see a landscaper doing, and I get on the phone and call them. I do have a flyer. The administration actually produced it, and I can share with you. But one thing that I have noticed, and as landscapers are getting more and more used to this, the one thing is I live very close to Morris Township. Morris Township does not have the ban. These leaf blowers are really loud, and they could be operating in Morris Township, and I hear them, and my immediate reaction is, where is that? And I realize that it's right across the municipal border, and there's nothing I can do about it. So just keep that in mind too. If it's something that you feel passionately about, and you are on the border, talk to the township. Talk to your friends who live in those neighborhoods, and have them talk to their representatives. So.
Good. All right. Thank you. All right, mayor's proclamations and presentations.
Before I do the proclamation, I'll touch on one thing, a couple things. Ezra brought up, that was when Sandy and I came by the house, and as well know, Sandy passed away. Former Fourth Ward Councilwoman. And it is a popular place. That trail's be preserved, 11 plus acres, and what they've done with Foots Pond is amazing. And it does get a little more traffic on both sides, on Overlook and on the other side on James Street, on the side streets. The water well, I guess it was a well that was there, was a town property. The engineers here, I don't know the reason why we closed it down. It goes back to probably when Elms was councilman. But I will get you that answer, why that's closed and why it should be used as a lot where people could park. We maybe can do a sign there to park there. So we'll look into that, Ezra.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I know exactly what you're talking about. People get out, they like to walk, they like to go in that way instead of going in the other way. I actually did this walk when we visited you. We actually walked it that way. You're not falling on deaf ears. We'll look into it. And appreciate you coming out. Leaf blowers, again, same thing. I do see a couple of landscaping companies that are all electric, which is interesting, which is new. And just briefly on Spring Street, it's been in the paper, it's been talked about at this council. This Spring Street development goes back to 2004. This is not something new for the town. However, there's an introduction to this plan, and there's a redevelopers agreement. When people hear, preservation, demolish, it starts to spread, they're gonna demolish the building. I have not seen or heard any things to that level that they're going to do that. It is our position as the administration to preserve that property, and we will hold, and where's Steve? Steve's still here? We will hold the developer's feet to the fire on that preservation of that property. I think it's a lot more historic than people lead on to believe. There may be some issues going on there. We're looking into it as far as an abatement on a lead issue. That could be the case, and then this information gets out, and people think, it was in the paper, and somebody says, they were talking about your building in the paper, they're going to take it down, they're going to develop it. No, it's not the case. So rest assured, the administration and you, when it comes time to do the redevelopers agreement, will have strong language in there for preservation of that property. Clear, unequivocally, non-negotiable. Understood? Understood. And that goes to the public. Might not understand me, and I'm sure the pastor.
Oye, el alcalde está diciendo que el edificio no va a ser demolido y que él y nosotros tenemos que aplicar toda la fuerza cuando se haga el contrato con el que va a hacer el desarrollo de esa zona para que no sea demolido sino rehabilitado.
Yeah, so you guys will get that redevelopers agreement, and you will be able to uphold the strong language in that redevelopers agreement that you will have to sign and adhere to if you're going to do an agreement. So rest assured that will be in that agreement. And when the planner talks about, when we presented the plan, we just did it at the planning board. We just did a consistency review at the planning board, which is open, but the public was out. It's not something that's being done behind closed doors. This has been out for a while, and it is what it is. Everybody's seen it. I don't agree with the comments from a couple of people from the public, but they have the right to their opinion and their opinion of preservation. I can tell you this: we tried to preserve a pre-Civil War building on Maple Avenue when I was a councilman, and I fought like heck, got people here, fought like heck to preserve that building. And before I had a chance to even take another step forward, they demolished it. Private property, the town has some say in what happens, but we don't control what private people do to the property. There is a demolition ordinance in place that slows down these types of things, but ultimately it is the owners of this property could tomorrow take a demolition permit and take down that building. On that note, again, the main thing I wanted to stress to the council and to the public was, trust me when I shouldn't like to say that, it's not a good thing to say when you're a politician, right? Believe me, there will be strong language, and unequivocally this administration will not bend on the preservation of that building, period. Period. Now, is Diane here?
Yes.
Come on up.
Hi.
Before I get into my other stuff, let's do a proclamation for you.
Thank you.
The most important. This is very important.
It is important.
Drysdale?
Drysdale, but people
Dry-
like to say, people like to just say
I
Drysdale.
know,
or Don,
Drysdale, yeah.
No,
Come on.
Diane Drysdale.
Okay. This is on gun violence prevention. And I'm going to read this into the record.
Sure.
And then I'm going to present it to you, and then you can say a few words. Okay? All right. Whereas the first Friday in June is recognized as National Gun Violence Awareness Day to honor and remember all victims and survivors of gun violence, and to declare what we as a country must do more to reduce gun violence. Every day, more than 120 Americans are killed by gun violence, alongside more than 200 who are shot and wounded. On an average, there are more than 17,000 gun homicides each year. Americans are 26 times more likely to die by gun homicide than people in other high-income countries, and New Jersey averages 475 gun deaths every year, with a rate of 54.8 deaths per 100,000 people. Gun homicides and assaults are concentrated in cities, with more than half of all firearm-related gun deaths in the national occurring in 127 cities. The U.S. has a ratio of 120.5 firearms owned by per 100 residents, far surpassing that of other countries around the world and making the U.S. the only country with more civilian-owned firearms than people. The U.S. gun suicide rate is 10 times that of other high-income countries, and access to gun increases the risk of death by suicide by 3 times. Protecting the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens is consistent with keeping firearms away from people who are at risk for harming themselves or harming others. In states where elected officials have taken action to pass common-sense gun safety legislation and policy consistent with the Second Amendment, fewer people die and are injured by gun violence. June 3rd, 2024, would have been the 27th birthday of Hadiya Pendleton, the teenager who marched in President Obama's second inaugural parade and was tragically shot and killed just weeks later. The idea of National Gun Violence Awareness Day was inspired by a group of Hadiya's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange, the colors hunters wear to announce themselves to other hunters when they are in the wilderness. And orange is the color that symbolizes the value of human life. By wearing orange on June 7, 2024, by acknowledging June as National Gun Violence Awareness Month, Americans will help raise awareness of gun violence by honoring those lives lost and human hardship endured to gun violence. To honor Hadiya and thousands of other Americans whose lives have tragically cut short every year, and the countless survivors who are injured by shootings every day, the National Coalition Organizations has designated June 7, 2024 as the 9th Annual National Gun Violence Awareness Day. Now therefore, I, Timothy Doherty, Mayor of the Town of Morristown, do hereby proclaim Friday, June 7, 2024 as National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the Town of Morristown. And I encourage all Morristown residents to participate in promoting greatest awareness about gun violence and gun safety. Thank you for what you do here. Please,
Thank you, Mayor.
please.
Hi, everyone. I think I should, can you hear me?
Yes.
Should first explain who I am. I'm Diane Dresdale. I'm here on behalf of 2 organizations primarily. Moms Demand Action, which everyone is aware of, and National Council of Jewish Women. I'm the Gun Violence Prevention Chairperson. We are all fortunate to live in the state of New Jersey, which is the 3rd safest state in the country because of the gun violence prevention laws that have been passed over the past few years. But there's one piece of information that I think is important to note that we have not recognized is that gun violence has now become the #1 cause of death for children in the United States, the only country that has that issue. That should alarm everyone. There are still other things we can do. There's many laws that should be passed at the federal level. I'm just going to say it's important who you elect for office, and people who support assault weapons bans, full background checks, those kind of common sense gun safety laws will save so many lives. And honestly, our children are going to school, we all know this, having to endure lockdown drills and fear of a shooter coming in. We shouldn't have to live like this. I haven't even asked my youngest child, who's now just started college, what it was like, because I'm too afraid to find out what it was like, to have to endure that. In any event, so there are a number of events going around next weekend, beginning on the 7th, to honor National Gun Violence Awareness Day. You can go and just plug that into Google, and you'll see them in the area. And I am one of the people running National Gun Violence Awareness Day rally in Summit, which is not too far from you guys, 5 to 6:30 on Friday. And you'll have speakers that range from students who can speak about their experiences, survivors, elected officials, Newark Community Street Team, which if anyone's familiar with their work, it's amazing. They do community violence prevention work They've been recognized nationally for it. So I hope everyone comes out to either our rally or another event to show your support for gun violence prevention measures. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll get that posted on the website too.
Thank
Clerk?
you.
Council President, let's run down through the events. Friday, May 17th, there was a grand opening at Slate Med Spa. Councilman Russo. Anybody else was at that one? I popped in afterwards. It was well attended. Another good health spa there. Saturday, May 18th, it was a townwide spring cleanup. I want to thank our environmental commission and all the people, especially shout out to Pastor Silva and all these people from Central Biblical who every year come out and do a great job of policing our community. We appreciate that. Thank you for your commitment and people in Morristown commitment to keep it clean down. Friday, May 24th, presentation by Council President Umbriac as the National Poppy Day Proclamation to American Legion Post 59 at Kings. Thank you, Council President. I believe Councilman Russo also was in attendance. On Sunday, the Rotary Club had the music festival at Ledgewood Park.
It was actually canceled.
Oh, it was canceled? Oh, no, it wasn't. I'm going to leave you with the Hometown Heroes comment.
Okay.
Monday was Memorial Day, and I want to thank Councilman Russo for standing in. This was only twice in 15 years I was not be able to be in attendance, and it is a moving experience. And thank you again for standing in. You did a great job.
Thank you.
And I want to shout out to our police department for Coffee with a Cop at Ethan and Bean took place today. And if you notice, there's a new van for the new division that we have, Hart. It's pretty cool. You'll be seeing that around town. You'll see our new division that was created within our police department, which is led by Chief Darnell Richardson. June 8th, 15th annual Our Youth Their Future event is at Caldwell Park, 1 to 6 p.m. I want to make this announcement since we announced June 8th, which is a great work that Toshiba Foster and her group does for our youth and their future. It's her 15th year. Toshiba Foster will be at the next council meeting. And let me tell you something, that is a miracle. And what a road to recovery she has endured, and we cannot wait to get her back. And so that announcement, I got the okay to make the announcement. We're really excited about that. I want to give a shout out to Craig Barth. He's an audiologist with offices at 230 South Street, Blair House. He is retiring on June 21st after 35 years. As mayor, I congratulate Mr. Barth on his retirement. Wish him the best of luck in his retirement. There's no too many audiologists, and right down the street for 35 years. Congratulations. Council President, do you want to just touch really briefly on the Motown Heroes program?
Sure. So I believe the mayor mentioned it last council meeting during its presentation. We have flyers that we have printed up. I'm going to be going through some of the businesses downtown and asking if I can hang them. But basically, this is a way to honor Morristown's veterans with banners across towns. You've probably seen them in other towns. Morris Township recently did this. Ours is unique to Morristown because it's called Motown Heroes. So you can honor a veteran, either living or deceased. For more information, you can go to townofmorristown.org/Motown Heroes.
That's all I have, Council President.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to other presentations and reports. So we have a Morristown Police Bureau accreditation renewal for Mr. Harry Delgado.
Because I have to say, maybe you speak, I'm sorry. Anyway, my name is Harry Delgado. I am the Accreditation Program Director for the State Association of Chiefs of Police. And I'm very honored to be here tonight to recognize the police department. And not for just having accreditation, but re-accreditation. Now, this is a process. So 3 years ago, I made a presentation
because it was their initial accreditation achievement. But just to add context of what I'm about to say, so 54% of those agencies, law enforcement agencies that are eligible to apply for accreditation, have made it once. But when you consider those that made it twice, because it's a process that they have, that percentage drops to about 34%. So it's pretty an elite group of law enforcement agencies that make it the second time. So if you indulge me for 2 minutes, I'd like to share with you the significance of the accreditation. The town of Morristown Police Department has once again made a commitment to adhering to best practices at the state and national level in a highly regarded statewide law enforcement accreditation program. This program, administered through the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police and the New Jersey Law Enforcement Accreditation Commission, has helped to transparently demonstrate the professionalism and preparedness of state law enforcement agencies. It is purposefully designed to enhance professionalism and transparency in the state's public safety system. Now, during these uniquely challenging times and the threat to health and safety, encouraging law enforcement agencies to follow standardized practices and policies is a potentially life-saving and cost-effective investment of time and resources. Now, accreditation gives an agency a preparedness plan and a verification of excellence. Accreditation status represents a significant professional achievement, as in the case of the Morristown Police Department. I should say that at the end of this process, which takes 3 years to get reaccredited, there is an on-site assessment that is very critical. And typically we find issues that some of which might be resolved in terms of compliance with standards, but in the case of the Morristown Police Department, we didn't find any. So they had a perfect on-site assessment, which is also remarkable. So accreditation is a process. The foundational accreditation lies in the adoption of standards containing a clear statement of professional objectives. In the state of New Jersey, it's 112 standards. And the state of New Jersey is the leader in accreditation of all 37 states that do have their own accreditation program. It is a progressive and time-proven way of helping law enforcement agencies calculate and improve their overall performances. It is a certification by an obtaining authority, in this case the State Association of Chiefs of Police, that the agency was carefully measured against an established set of state and national standards, and in the case of the town of Morristown Police Department, I should say, in many instances, as I stated before, without a blemish, exceeded some of those standards. Now, government officials can be more confident in the agency's ability to operate efficiently and meet community needs. And officers accredited in accredited agencies can take pride that they have been objectively recognized for their professionalism and adherence to the highest standards. Now, in closing, I'd like to purge and paraphrase some of the things that were said in the report briefly. So, under the leadership of Chief Darnell Richardson and Public Safety Director Michael Corcoran Jr., a high level of competence, leadership, and professionalism is evident within the agency. This is evident by the strategic planning and addressing future issues such as community policing, trust building, crime prevention and prevention, mental health and crisis response, and combating the drug epidemic. Now, it is the opinion of the assessment team that the Morristown Police Department is a highly professional and committed agency which exemplifies all of the tenets of law enforcement accreditation at the state and national level. And again, I say, it's indeed my honor here tonight on behalf of the New Jersey State Association of Police, the Association of Chiefs of Police, and the New Jersey Law Enforcement Commission to congratulate Chief Darnell Richardson, Public Safety Director Michael Corcoran, Accreditation Manager Captain Keith Reagan, the members of the Morristown Police Department and Council, and those citizens that they so proudly serve, for having achieved their reaccreditation, joining a very exclusive group of law enforcement agencies that have made this significant achievement to excellence and commitment to excellence in policing. So to all, indeed, congratulations. It's yours now, so. So congratulations.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, members of council, Ms. Barrett. 5 years ago, when I first got here, the mayor said to me in an interview, we have to get our police department accredited. Here we are 3 years later, second time around, reaffirming our commitment to best practices. And this couldn't have been done without the leadership of Chief Richardson, Captain Keith Reagan, who did yeoman's work throughout this process, and the men and women of the Morristown Bureau of Police who bring a level of commitment, dedication, and just genuine hard work every day in keeping Morristown safe. We're very proud of this award, very proud of being a part of that elite group of, I think, 34%. And 3 years from now, hopefully that'll be down to maybe about 10% of the agencies statewide. So thank you very much for your support. We really appreciate it. And to the residents of Morristown, thank you for your support and continuing to do good work. And Harry mentioned a lot of programs we've started, community engagement unit, initiatives that we are rolling out, and we're just beginning, and it's only going to get better from here. So thank you very much.
Now, Chief, come on, you're a man of few words.
I can take the credit for it, but the credit isn't due to me. It's due to Captain Kerrigan and the men and women of the Morristown Police Department. It's them that get the program off the ground and running, and they continue to support me and our command staff. I do appreciate that, and I appreciate all the assistance from the council and the administration itself. Again, thank you for this, but it's not my award, it's the town's award.
Well, thank you.
Thank
And I don't get often an opportunity to put Chief Richardson on the spot to speak, because he's a man of few words, but he gets the job done. As a mayor, I couldn't be more happy than what he's been able to accomplish in the few years he's been chief, and I hope he sticks around for quite a while. He's a really good leader, and we've got a great team. I thank our public safety director and our captains and men and women all the way down the line. We have a really great police department, and it's great to live in a community that has a department like this.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to council liaison reports.
Everything down in the Manhattan Village looked good. The mayor came down last week and did a walkthrough. It was the town inspectors came down. The grounds looked better. Everything looked good. I think it took the mayor to come down there and kick his shoes off a little bit. So we appreciate you for coming down, and you're doing a great job down there now.
Thank you. Councilman?
Hi, I may not sound like a broken record, but to kind of reiterate what the mayor was saying earlier, as liaison to the planning board, the preservation of that building, your home, is a top priority. So again, I'm just restating what the mayor mentioned, but as sitting on the liaison to the planning board, that's a top priority. So.
Thank you, sir. Councilman?
Yes, MPA. I think the most important topic related to us with MPA is that they want us to proceed with the ordinance increasing the park meters. So I think our attorney is working on that.
Correct. Councilman Flipchuk?
No, nothing else.
Nothing else. Okay. Very good. Margo, we'll move on to regular business.
Excuse me, Roderick Road. There are 4 ordinances for introduction this evening. Ordinance 0-14-2024, bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the town of Morristown and the county of Morris, New Jersey, appropriated $2,665,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $2,530,000 of bonds or notes of the town to finance part of the cost thereof.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance number O-14-2024.
Second?
Are there any comments or questions from council? Okay, on the introduction of ordinance O-14-2024, Councilman Iannicone.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay.
Yes.
Councilman Flipchuk.
Yes.
Councilman Russo.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Council President Umbreak.
Yes.
Ordinance O-14 has been introduced properly by title and will be considered further after a public hearing on June 11th. Ordinance number O-15-2024, ordinance appropriating $749,000 from the Sewer Capital Improvement Fund for various sewer improvements in and by the town of Morristown and the county of Morris, New Jersey.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance number O-15-2024.
Second?
Any comments or questions? Okay, on the introduction of ordinance O-15-2024, Councilman Iannicone.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay.
Yes.
Councilman Flipchuk.
Yes.
Councilman Russo.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Council President Umbreak.
Yes.
Ordinance O-15 has been introduced properly by title and will be considered further after a public hearing on June 11th. Ordinance O-16-2024, 2024. Ordinance for the honorary street naming for William Butchie Barber Jr. at the location of Flagler Street and Flag Potts Drive.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance number O-16-2024.
Second.
Any comments or questions from council?
I have a procedural question, Ms. Michelle, maybe you can answer it best. If we were to consider moving this to a different location where they suggested MLK, would the ordinance need to be reintroduced again, or can we do it as part of the adoption?
No, I would consider that only amendments that are de minimis in nature can be amended upon adoption. I would say that's not de minimis, because it's a change in location, you have to start over.
But put the question a different way, since the public hearing is June 11th probably, on June 11th, can we have the introduction then to be either at Clyde's Potts and Flagler or at MLK? Because I think what the public, what you heard, especially when you get a letter from the wife of the person that's being honored, I think that's where you're going with this, Steve, is you're gonna have a public hearing on the topic at the next meeting. We're gonna hear from the public. And what Steve's trying to do is not have to hear the public deny it and then go through the process again, because these people haven't waited for 2 years for this.
I understand, but you can't have a public hearing with two locations and then pick one and vote on it. You couldn't do that in ordinance. You're gonna need an introduction. If you want to, if you're not comfortable with this location, I recommend that the ordinance just be introduced again with the proper.
So
the
have a
proper
public hearing, make a decision at the public hearing, and then if we decide it's better at MLK, have it reintroduced.
You'd have to reintroduce, yes.
We understand.
Okay, on the introduction of ordinance O-16-2024, Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Lindsay.
Yes.
Councilman Felicia.
Yes.
Councilman Russo.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Council President Umbreak.
Yes.
Ordinance O-16 has been introduced properly by title and will be considered further after a public hearing on June 11th. Ordinance O-17-2024, an ordinance amending and supplementing the code of the town of Morristown, Chapter 7 Traffic, Section 40.2, handicap parking on streets for private residences, to add a dedicated handicap parking space for a resident of 40 Clyde Potts Drive.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance number O-17-2024.
Second.
Any comments or questions from council? Ordinance O-17 has been introduced, roll call. On the introduction of ordinance O-17-2024, Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay.
Yes.
Councilman Felicia.
Yes.
Councilman Russo.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Council President Umbreak.
Yes.
Ordinance O-17-2024 has been introduced properly by title and will be considered after a public hearing on June 11th. There are 3 ordinances for public hearing and adoption tonight. First one is ordinance O-11-2024, calendar year ordinance to extend the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank pursuant to NJSA 48:4-44.14.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number O-11-2024.
Second.
At this time, I'll open the floor for a public hearing on ordinance O-11-2024 only. Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any comments or questions from council on the adoption of ordinance O-11-2024? Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay.
Yes.
Councilman Felicia.
Yes.
Councilman Russo.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Council President Umbreak.
Yes.
Motion carries. Ordinance O-11-2024 is adopted. Ordinance O-12-2024, an ordinance approving and adopting the Spring Street redevelopment plan 2024 amendment for the lands comprising block 3504, portion of lot 1, block 3505, lots 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.01, 7.02, 7.03, 7.04, 8, 9, and 16, and block 4901, lots 3, 4, 5, and 6 on the official tax maps of the town of Morristown County, Morris, state of New Jersey.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number O-12-2024.
Second.
At this time, I'll open the floor for a public hearing on ordinance O-12-2024 only. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any comments or questions from council?
Sure. Phil's here. Can we ask Phil some questions?
I would recommend the questions be directed to
Yeah,
business
through
administration.
Guarantee I can answer
Just a couple
99%
of
of
things.
your questions.
I actually think we were very clear with reference to the south side of Spring Street, the preservation of that property. I think that was heard loud and clear. I don't think there's any question reference to the electrical building, let me just ask the question. When the plan is being reviewed, is the plan also reviewed by the Morristown Historical Commission, the redevelopment plan?
Yes.
It is, because there was a lot in there about the history of the property and what happened. And the electrical building did not come up either in the historical commission, I would imagine, as a concern for historical preservation.
No, correct.
Okay.
Nod or shake your head.
It did not.
No, it did not come.
It did not. So, but the historical preservation committee did review it
Yes.
prior to being submitted to us.
Yes.
But they did note historical significance for the south side of Springfield.
Yes, and that was something the administration noted from the beginning.
Right, okay.
Yes.
That's my question.
Great. Okay, yes, I have comments. Following up the two questions that I asked during the introduction, Ms. Barrett, our administrator, answered. And on the first one regarding to parking, the redevelopment plan states there shall be no parking requirement associated with the continued use of existing structure block 4901 lot 6. The requirement is consistent with the existing condition. I'm still insisting that during the process of negotiation, it should be some parking allowed for the residents. Currently, there are 12 cars there, and they park on the former electrical building. On the second question, what steps can be taken to ensure existing residents are not negatively impacted by the rehab of the structure? Detail about the scope of the sequence of rehabilitation will be required as part of the redevelopment agreement. As part of the negotiation of the redevelopment agreement, the town will vet the proposal for renovating the existing building and require provisions to minimize any potential impacts to existing residents. Some of the provisions related to the renovation of the existing building that the town can advocate for include requiring the redeveloper to provide alternative accommodation during the rehabilitation process, requiring the redeveloper to cover any associated moving costs, requiring the redeveloper to allow tenants to return to their apartments after rehabilitation is completed without a rent increase, and other similar provisions. So that shows the commitment of the town and especially administration to advocate for residents. Just allow me to say it in Spanish, please. Una de las cosas que la administración ha determinado es defender a los que están viviendo allí y pedir que durante el proceso de rehabilitación sean movidos a un lugar mientras se rehabilita para que luego ustedes puedan continuar ahí. Y yo quiero reiterarles algo. Es importante ver esas cartas que les dieron y también es importante saber que si el dueño, el landlord, tiene que remediar algo, no lo puede sacar, sino que tiene que moverlos y luego rehabilitar eso y volverlos. ¿Okay? ¿Entendieron? Yes.
Follow-up question?
Sure.
Jillian, some of the properties that are subject to this redevelopment plan are actually owned by the town of Morristown, correct?
Yes.
And those properties, the one that was being referenced along Bishop Nazarene Way as a public space, is there any, because they said along Bishop, one of the things that Deborah mentioned was that strip along Bishop
I
Nazarene.
think she was referencing the one on the other side of the bridge.
On the other side of the bridge?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there, I know that we're going to be involved with this development since we own a few of those lots, but we're being fairly compensated for those lots?
Absolutely.
I know.
Have you met me?
Okay. The second question is, does it also present an opportunity with reference to looking at that other property that's more along the river on the other side of the bridge?
Yes
Or
and no.
Is that preserved already?
It is not technically preserved, but it's effectively preserved. It's all in a floodplain, so our ability to build on that is fairly limited, but the practicality.
And I think
is,
that's still owned by the town too, right?
Yes.
It is?
Yes,
Okay.
and we already use that property for a lot of things. We will keep that land. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
Councilman, if you might, there was one question from the public that I wanted to make sure to address, because there was a question about the demolition.
Sure.
Stipulations on the apartment building that's on the west side. The redevelopment plan specifically states that property is to be preserved in its existing condition pending the renovations that will be outlined as part of the redevelopment agreement. The only instance in which it could be demolished would be if there was an act of God, like God forbid it gets struck by actual lightning, or there's some other sort of act of God that damages or destroys the building beyond repair, and that would need to be determined by the construction official. Short of that, the intent of the plan and what it will be required of the property owners if they renovate the property, ensuring that the existing tenants are able to maintain their homes, and that they keep the property in its existing form. And if for some reason an act of God or something requires that it be demolished in the future, pending all of those very specific stipulations, then it would have to be replaced in kind with the same number of units and be replaced by 100% full house.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, on the adoption of ordinance O-12-2024, Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay.
Yes.
Councilman Flipchuk.
Yes.
Councilman Russo. Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Council President Umbreak.
Yes.
Motion carries. Ordinance O-12-2024 is adopted. Ordinance O-13-2024, ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 11 Parks and Recreation Areas, specifically Section 11-11 of the Town of Morristown Municipal Code.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number O-13-2024.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay. Anyone? I will now open the floor for a public hearing on ordinance O-13-2024 only. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any comments or questions from council? On the adoption of ordinance O-13-2024, Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay.
Yes.
Councilman Flipchuk.
Yes.
Councilman Russo.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Council President Umbreak.
Yes.
Motion carries. Ordinance 13-2024 is adopted. There are 8 resolutions that will be agenda for adoption. Would any members of the council like to pull any for separate consideration?
96 and 97.
Are there any others? Okay, with that, I would ask for a motion to adopt resolution numbers 91-2024 through 95-2024 and 98-2024.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
On the adoption of those resolutions, Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay. Councilman Flipchuk.
Yes.
Councilman Russo.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Council President Umbreak.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution number R-96-2024, resolution introducing the 2024 budget of the Morristown Partnership Special Improvement District. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number R-96-2024.
Second?
Introducing.
Introducing. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
The introduction.
Introduction.
We're adopting a resolution to introduce the Special Improvement District budget.
There you go.
Okay.
My only question is the presentation that was actually in our package was a pretty good presentation. Is that going to be presented next week?
Yes.
Next meeting, yes.
The next meeting?
Yes, I have been assured by Jennifer Waring that it will be
Because
presented.
I think that's.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, on the adoption of the introduction of resolution 96-2024, Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay.
Yes.
Councilman Flipchuk.
Yes.
Councilman Russo.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Council President Umbreak.
Yes.
Resolution R-97-2024, resolution authorizing the town of Morristown tax collector to prepare and mail estimated tax bills in accordance with Code Law 1994, Chapter 72.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number R-97-2024.
Second?
Councilman.
Jillian,
Yes.
you know what I'm going to ask?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Well,
I think
ask
it's a
it
good-
for
I think
the-
it's a real good point of clarification.
Sure.
Because you're going to.
So the estimated tax bills are necessary primarily because the state does not adopt their budget in a timely manner to allow us to strike a final tax rate. So that's not our budget. We're not waiting on anyone else's budget. We're actually waiting on the state's budget. So in the meantime, in order to keep the town running, we have to issue estimated tax bills for the next quarter. Once the final tax rate is struck, then the final tax bills will be sent, and any changes to anybody's budget in the meantime, the tax rate will be, or the tax rate will be adjusted accordingly.
So even though we haven't approved the budget and we haven't gotten a final state budget, it's typical that we see the final tax bills which come out the third quarter may be different from the tax bill that we see now. We will have no more confusion.
Yeah, we haven't been able to issue, we've been issuing SMA tax bills annually for several years
Yes.
because the state never does their budget.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, on the adoption of resolution R-97-2024, Councilman Anacott?
Yes.
Councilman Lindsay?
Yes.
Councilman Butcher?
Yes.
Councilman Russo?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Council President Andreotti?
Yes.
Motion carries, resolution is adopted.
Thank you. We have no unfinished old business, no new business. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Yes, we did. Most covered we had months.
Oh.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.